cherish time, boy. You must kill it as fast as possible. All right, let's see if this alternate thing. We'll see when this stream actually started. I guess it says I'm live because YouTube changed all its crap. Doesn't work as well as it used to. This live chat looks terrible, but whatever. It's Monday, August 5th, 2019. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, USB-C, the connector to finally rule them all.
For now.
Sort of. So, in Geek Nights, we have a story tradition of, we have a very regular format over these last 14 or so years of we do an opening bit where we talk about our lives, and then we do the news, then we do a thing of the day, and then a meta moment and a main bit, and we have this whole thing. So my only question is, which one of us should do our opening bit first today?
It don't matter.
It don't matter? All right.
What does it care? Who cares?
All right, so I was at work today, doing my normal thing, and around 11, like I do, I went to go have my daily poop, because I am hyper-regular now that I'm in my 30s.
11 seems to be the time most dudes poop, and let me guess, you couldn't get a stall because everyone's pooping.
No, because I know the secret, because basically...
You go to a floor where no one's pooping.
There are only 3 stalls in each bathroom, like in the bathrooms on each floor.
You locked one of them. You put a pair of shoes in one of them.
Up until the 16th floor, which is the floor I'm on. But 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, daddy, 8 stalls.
So you go up a flight of stairs.
I go up one flight, and it's pretty easy. And if I really am desperate, I can go up to 22. No one thinks to go up to 22. 22 is an awesome floor.
Is there no one on 22? Is it like a...
There's a small office up there for certain things.
So there's a million stalls and only one desk.
And there's 2. It's the floor with the big conference room for big outside events.
So if there isn't an event, there's no one up there.
Yeah, there's no one up there, so I can go out on the balcony. It's real. I can see the skyline. I just hang out up there. It's awesome.
Okay.
But sometimes I go up there and there's a whole bunch of people and then I can't poop.
Yeah, they're having a party.
So I have my poop like I do, and I played 4 Nurishima hexes during it.
Yeah, you trying out those new armies?
No, they're not in the app yet.
Oh, okay.
I was in the app trying to figure out how to buy them, and I couldn't figure it out.
Okay.
I don't think you can.
Oh,
So
email.
And then I go to flush, but like a good person who's worried about his health and careful, I turn around and look before I flush.
No, is your poop just green?
So
yellow.
It was green.
Orange.
It was the brightest. It looked like someone had taken a green neon highlighter and just taken the inside out and dropped it in like a log.
All right, you ate some kind of thing.
So I thought to myself...
What vegetable did you eat?
So I thought to myself, I have never seen a color that stark before.
You took a photo of your poop.
No, I didn't even take a photo.
Okay.
So I thought on it for a second because I know that green poop is a bile thing, but it wasn't that kind of color. It was way too bright. Then I remembered last night...
You ate a highlighter.
We went to Ice and Vice, the fancy ice cream place.
Yeah, it's food coloring in your ice cream.
Their cones have food coloring in them.
All right.
And I remembered back to...
It's not digestible food coloring?
The last time I went there, and I had a similar incident, and I realized that is the problem. The last time I went there, I had a pink cone, and the next day, when I pooped, it looked like... I thought I was bleeding to death for a second until I remembered.
You should email them and be like, hey, your food coloring makes me poop the color.
I should be like, hey... You could put a little less food coloring in these cones.
Or you could warn people about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Have a extreme ice cream warning on the door.
I don't know.
So what do you got? Is your thing of the day hopefully not also poop related?
No. So someone posted on the internet about some science. So I signed up to do the science.
Oh yeah, that thing.
So basically, someone at Columbia is researching the associations between air pollution, biking to work, cardio, whatever.
Which makes sense because on one hand, you want to do a lot of cardio, but on the other hand, especially in a city, doing a lot of cardio every day means some days the air is really bad.
Right.
So you're
basically
breathing more pollution.
So anyway, I signed up to go do the study, help them out because it's of interest to me. It's not the kind where they pay you. So apparently you only really get paid for scientific studies when A, they got a lot of grant money and they're having a hard time finding people to do it for free.
I got paid at RIT once.
Yeah. And B, they do it. They usually pay people when you're doing something risky, right? It's take this experimental medicine. And it's we'll give you money. All right.
I remember one of my RIT professors talking about how he did a study where they paid him $100, which in the 70s.
That's a lot of money.
But the study was drink a whole bunch of alcohol and then inhale mercury vapor and see how much mercury vapor gets into your blood.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. So I went up there, and they gave me a whole bunch of sensors and shit. So that they gave me, the first thing they gave me, are these two, I have them over here. I had to carry them around. So I had to do it 6 times. So basically 6 24-hour periods over 3 weeks, but not consecutively. Not on consecutive days. So I had to do basically 2 days a week for 3 weeks, but not 2 days in a row ever.
All right.
And I got a bike to work on those days. Otherwise, it's, what's the point, right? So they gave me 2 different kinds of air pollution sensor things. They gave me, so I got to carry them around, and they're just always drinking the air, I guess. And then they gave me this Hexoskin shirt, which is like a undershirt thing, and it has a little data recorder.
Oh, will it catch your respiration rate and all that?
It has, basically, it's like an ECG situation with 3 contact points.
Oh, so it's not doing the chest expansion thing?
And also it has these 2 hex strips that go around my entire body. And I guess they can tell when my body is stretching, and
Yeah.
they use that to measure how much air I breathe in.
I've worn one of those, something very similar before.
Right, because I guess they do some kind. She's like, you do some volume, right? It's like if your chest expands this much, that means this much air came in, and if the air pollution is this much, that means you breathed in this many particles.
Well, 2 things I know because I've done a bunch of medical things with that kind of equipment before, and I've been thinking about buying one of those strap sensors. I don't need the EKG nonsense, but I like the respiration sensor
Anyway, so
because I'm trying to train more seriously in the running.
and then basically a blood pressure monitor that you can like wear, and it checks your blood pressure periodically just on its own. And then she's like, "Do you want to take this extra thing?" It's like, you don't have to. And it was basically this thing some dude in Belgium made. So the dude in Belgium wants to, it's like a separate study, but it's related. So it's like you can do both at once. He wants to know about if there's a relation between like noise and air pollution. Like, yeah, if it's noisier, then that means there's more cars and shit. So there's more air pollution, right? So he basically, I'm pretty sure it's an Arduino in a box, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a box. And I just tie the box to my bike and plug it in when I ride, and that's it. So I'm just going to carry this shit around 6 times, and then I don't have to go back to stupid Columbia. They're just going to come and get the stuff.
All right,
So
that's not bad. They're making it easy.
I don't have to go back there.
I'm glad you're doing this because I have a vested interest in the results of this kind of research.
Right, so we're going to find out. It's like, well, you bike to work. Oh, so healthy. But you breathed in all this poison. If you were in a car that has filters on its air intakes, you wouldn't breathe the poison. You would just poison everyone else.
And it'll probably figure, like, what's the balance between, yes, the pollution is bad for you, but the exercise is better for you than the pollution is bad?
Is like my blood pressure, like, worse when I'm biking in a bad place?
Well, kind of like how...
Oh, also I have to use Strava and send her my Strava files.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. You saw Strava had a big outage the other day.
I didn't notice.
They were basically, if you went into the app, it had a big banner that was like, yo, we know we're having problems. Stop restarting the app over and over again. It's just making things worse. We're going to fix it. Just give us time. Seriously, calm down, kids.
You shouldn't tell people to just fix it. Don't.
Well, because they were trying to fix it, but apparently people kept saying, oh, my runs aren't syncing, and they kept like closing the app and restarting it.
That's tough shit. Just make it shit. That shouldn't affect whether you make it work or not.
Yeah.
Just go to your firewall and block everybody until you fix your shit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as a product manager.
If it's down, you might as well just block them, have them time out.
Yep. Also, Strava, unlike, say, a real work thing, not that important if it's down for a little while.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
It's not a Sev 1 at the data center.
If I was the boss of Strava and they're like, Strava is down, oh my God, I'd be like, yeah, well, it's like worst case, don't work on the weekend. Worst case, all the premium people, we can just, refund them for the weekend's worth of money, right? So
yeah, give them some sort of bonus fake feature.
Yeah, everyone gets a free month if you're a premium buy, whatever.
I don't know who pays for that because
it doesn't do any. I don't know any feature on the premium that I feel I need to pay for.
It has a safety feature that I don't really need.
What do you mean safety feature?
So you can basically list other Strava users and like people as your contacts, and you can tell it, I'm going for a run and I want my friends to track me, and it'll tell all of them where you are the whole time, and it has like a panic button.
Seems unnecessary.
There are use cases for that.
I have other apps to do that, like Google Trusted Contact.
Yeah, there are uses for that. People who do serious overland hiking, people who are at risk of assault because they're running at night. I can see, but again, it worries me.
Strava is not the app for that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's a feature. Anyway. And a whole bunch of this analysis stuff that just seems silly.
Yeah, there's some people who are just like super, like that's their main thing is tracking the data on their body.
Yeah, but I am
Like that's
super.
their number. Like they're getting home and they're spreadsheeting their body daily.
I mean,
That's
I
their
collect
thing.
all this data, but I don't look at it except in like the most abstract aggregate of like, am I getting faster or slower over time? How am I doing? Is my 5K time actually getting worse?
You got faster, but you got older, and it evened out. The end.
Yep.
I don't need an app to tell me that.
So in the news, this story escalated rapidly. And I think it's worth the time to unpack this because a lot of people don't understand how any of this works. So backing all the way up, there is a website filled with the second most vile people on earth called 8chan. 8chan
It's
was
not 4chan.
yeah, because it's twice as shitty. That's the best way to think of it. The higher the number, the shittier the place.
Like I feel like if you're 8chan, people get banned from 4chan. As
I
if
mean,
4chan
literally,
even banned anything. Right?
8chan was formed by this Gamergator dude, basically, who has since, as vile as that dude is, he has actually come out today and said that he disavows 8chan. It was a mistake. Shut it down. It is dangerous. So even that shitty Gamergate dude
that's pretty much the only thing that really amazes me these days.
is when someone changes their mind.
No, they didn't change his mind. It's the vile people who somehow have a line.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
like 4chan, pretty vile, but they had a line, and their line was
It's like this person. It's like they're racist. They don't unracist, right? It's like they're all these bad things. They're misogynist, and they don't change their ways. They still agree with all those bad things. But then somehow at some point they're like, "That's too far, bro." And it's like, well, are you gonna be a good person? No. I just draw the line at this much badness.
Yep.
That's the only person that surprises me ever. Is that person.
But
Because that person exists. He's right there, 8chan guy.
so basically, 4chan didn't have a lot of rules, but they banned furries for cultural and internet reasons, whatever. They banned pedophilia
You
and
don't
child
say.
porn,
You don't say.
and they banned Gamergate.
Uh-huh.
Those are the only things that they banned, and those people were so affronted that they made 8chan,
Well, the
basically.
furries didn't go to 8chan.
No, the furries
The
got
other
their own
ones
stuff.
went. The other ones went.
Everyone else went to 8chan. The bad people went to 8chan.
Right.
So 8chan is there, and it's awful. And 3 of the more recent like mass murderers in the world posted their manifestos to 8chan. And if you actually go to 8chan, which I do not recommend you do, you will find some of the most vile hate speech and incitement to violence the world has ever seen.
Yeah, probably.
These are bad people.
Yep. I don't know why we just don't go, round up everyone on 8chan.
The pro move would have been if 8chan was just a long-running honeypot.
Just swap them for the immigrants. Just swap.
The only place worse than 8chan is Gab. Gab.
Gab is just 8chan Reddit, right?
Yeah, Gab is like 8chan Reddit / Twitter.
It's a site that's like a Reddit, but it's for bad people, the kind that would go to 8chan.
Yeah, imagine the kind of content that even Twitter, who won't ban anyone practically, would ban. They go to Gab and 8chan. So 8chan only was able to exist because Cloudflare provided services to them like
Right.
DDoS protection
So if you don't know, right,
and
so-
load balancing.
Right, so Cloudflare is a company that's been around for a while, and they made their name back in the day because what would happen is certain sites, good or bad, would get DOS'd or DDoS'd.
Yep, and there
And-
is a difference, a big difference.
Yeah, but the point is their site would go down, and they did not have enough money to say, do what Google does and run a huge worldwide network of servers
Yep.
that are invincible and, have a huge IT staff. Maybe you just got your WordPress blog, but you got an awesome article that's getting really popular.
Yeah.
And it's spreading like wildfire. Maybe you got /dotted or something, right?
And it's not easy
it's
to
spreading a good message, but you got so much traffic, you're down. Or because you're a good person, the hate people are taking you down.
or you might not even you just might just have a lot of traffic and it's not even a DDoS.
You're
you
just
don't have
one
capacity.
person and you can't handle that. Like you can't handle architecture of that nature for your use case.
And if you have wizards working for you, like between IP table, there's a lot of stuff you can do on servers to mitigate that up to a point.
But there's a limit, right? So Cloudflare, what they do is they provide basically a CDN, but also other stuff. And the way it works,
CDN is Content Distribution Network, in case you have no idea what we're
Right.
talking about.
you point your DNS, right? Basically, Cloudflare becomes your DNS provider.
Yep.
And we actually use them.
Yeah.
It's free. And you go there and you say, okay, for frontrowcrew.com, the IP address is X. And you tell them, right? And now you tell your registrar where you bought the domain, hey, for DNS, use Cloudflare. And then you're all good. And what you do is in the list of DNS entries on Cloudflare, they have these little icons you click, and you have two options: an arrow going around a cloud or an arrow going through a cloud. So an arrow going around the cloud means anyone visiting frontrowcrew.com will go directly, their web browser will send a TCP/IP request, boom, directly to your web server, wherever it is, Linode, Oz.
Very useful, for example, front end versus back end. Like as a content creator, I am doing a lot of things I don't need this cloud protection for.
Right. And if you click the icon to go through the cloud, what will happen is when their web browser says, what's the IP address for frontrowcrew.com? It'll actually give you an IP address for some Cloudflare server. The HTTP request will go to the Cloudflare server. The Cloudflare server will then go to your real server, get the copy of your web page, and then cache it, and then send it. And the next person who comes visiting is probably going to see a cached version mostly.
Yep.
Right? You've probably seen times where people's like servers go down and you'll get like the Cloudflare error page. It's like, oh yeah, we don't have a recent version of this web page, and they went down, because maybe they stopped paying for their Oz or whatever.
Yep. So
right?
Cloudflare,
and also, in addition to providing that sort of caching CDN kind of stuff, they also provide just all this sort of attack protection. And the way it works is, since they have so many customers and clients and things, they see every kind of attack under the sun.
And
right?
a DDoS is hard to stop if you're the target by yourself.
Oh,
but if you have the data of all the other attacks around the world.
Right. It's like, let's say Rim's got a website and I got a website, and someone attacks Rim's website with some lame-o attack.
Yep.
Cloudflare sees that attack. They write some kind of rule to block it.
Usually a simple heuristic rule, like from the package themselves, you can figure out if they're malicious.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's an evil server over there. And then suddenly every other Cloudflare customer, everyone else using Cloudflare is now protected from that exact same attack. So, and they save all these over time forever. If you use Cloudflare, you're protected from like an insane number of attacks. It actually really works. It's super legit. The people who work there, regardless of your opinion of other decisions they've made, which we're going to discuss right now,
Yep.
their technology is excellent and competent. I think we've actually, when there was an internet outage recently, they wrote the article about why it was out. And remember we talked about how they were blaming some provider in Pennsylvania or something?
Yep.
That was Cloudflare doing that, because their internet engineering is good.
Now, in terms of ethics, the problem with Cloudflare is that they have taken an extreme free speech position.
Almost extreme. They have a line just short of the most extreme free speech.
Yep, and their line was the Daily Stormer and now 8chan.
Right, so Daily Stormer is the first thing to ever get kicked off.
Do not Google Daily Stormer.
It's just a Nazi newspaper.
Yeah, but
that's all you got to know about.
It's the Nazi newspaper.
Right, that's all you got to know. So after being on Cloudflare for quite some time, Cloudflare kicked it off, and
after massive public protests.
Right, that was the news on GeekNights, because it was like the CEO's decision to override their policy.
And they made a big deal about how reluctant they were to do it, and the danger to free speech.
Right.
Just as an aside, because I don't want to talk about that in this episode, but fuck that. Free speech for everyone but Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to draw that line.
Well, yeah, sure, but they. So now 8chan, it took them this long to decide.
It took not one, not two, but 3 mass murders.
3 mass murder manifestos in 8chan, and Cloudflare decided that was enough. And they're like, yeah, they're sort of leaning a little bit more away from the extreme free speech, being like, yeah, we're private. We don't have to, recognize free speech here.
Yep.
But we try to. And you know what? Even though they took down 8chan, good job, Cloudflare, there are still plenty of hate sites that are Cloudflare customers that they have not gotten rid of.
Yep. And
they took a sweet long-ass time to get rid of the 2 that they have gotten rid of.
And I generally want technology providers to be agnostic to content, but again, you can make a very clear line on certain kinds of hate speech.
I think it's like people argue the slippery slope, right? They're like, oh, first the Nazis, then the furries, then it's like...
No, we could just stop at Nazis.
You could. It's like, yeah, maybe they'll go down the slippery slope, but maybe they won't. So wait until they ban something that you're actually against before you yell at them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, if they ban some perfectly, good site tomorrow, then I'll berate them.
Then we write about that.
Yeah. But anyway, so Cloudflare, good and bad.
So Cloudflare kicked them out.
Yep.
But as everyone expected, Cloudflare, they even said something to the effect of, The problem isn't with 8chan. The problem is with America. They're gonna find another provider, guys.
Right. Daily Stormer did find another place to get hosted,
and so did
mostly
8chan.
on Tor and Dark Web, which we talked about.
So Daily Stormer
Mm-hmm.
and now 8chan, but only temporarily, they found a new service. There's a service called Bit Mitigate.
Well, why are you sharing the name of it?
I'm not going to link to them because it's going to be talked about in this article.
Yeah.
But this is kind of important because Bit Mitigate is basically kind of like how 8chan was formed with the people banned from 4chan. Bit Mitigate is formed with the people banned from Cloudflare.
Right, similar technology to what Cloudflare does.
And they basically focus on the worst people on Earth.
It's an inferior product, but it's not, I guess it works, right? And it works well enough.
So Bit Mitigate now was hosting Daily Stormer as far as I can, or like doing protection. We'll get to hosting in a second for Daily Stormer, and 8chan was migrating over there, and they were going to be fine.
I don't know why the other hate sites don't just go right away. It's like they stay with Cloudflare as long as they can.
Because Cloudflare is free. I don't think Bit Mitigate is free.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like being the IT guy for the mob. If you're the DDoS protector for the Nazis, you're going to charge a premium to be like the arms dealer to these shitty people.
Sure, anyway.
Buying AKs on the black market.
Right, so
cheap.
when this happened, it's like, well, the Bit Mitigate, which I guess is owned by some company.
Oh,
right?
the rabbit hole gets deep. You got to read this article.
So, it's owned by some other company, and I was like, and I said when we were discussing that, when the news had reached that point of they're going to this company, I was like, well, that company is still hosting their service somewhere in a data center. I doubt they have their own data center, so we could call the data center and let them know, and the data center could fire them as a customer. And even if they have their own data center, we can go to the data center, right? You could do something about the town. You get them to cut the electricity off. It's that's the avenue to attack this now, right? Especially once all the bad people are in one basket like that, right? But as it turns out, they weren't using their own data center. They were in some data center
Voxility is
called Voxility.
They're just an infrastructure as a service provider. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, they're just a data center somewhere.
Turns out Bit Mitigate uses them as their outsourced infrastructure.
Right, because they don't own their own computers, which I thought would be pretty rare if they did.
Yeah, very few people own their own computers.
And Voxility was not in on this game, so Voxility is just fire you as a customer. Get the hell out of here.
Voxility basically said, quote, "We provide services to ISPs and hosting resellers, and as a telco, we do not have access to websites hosted by customers of our customers. We cannot deal with the websites directly, but we are now working on removing this reseller from the network." So basically, once people figured out that Bit Mitigate was hosted on Voxility, Voxility said, "Fuck this," and just kicked him out.
Yeah.
So right now,
we can always keep figuring out, for them to avoid only by using the dark web and hosting in their houses.
But that's fine.
Right?
Dark web
Right.
is not discoverable by the average Nazi.
It's
Nazis are dumb as shit.
it's to host yourself, you need a ton of money to have your own data center. You'd have to get someone to agree to link your data center to the internet, right? It's at some point you have to do something with someone. It's a network. You have to get someone to agree to network with you.
And if you piss everybody else off, you're not on the internet. You're just your own little net.
Yeah. So that's
Voxility did the right thing. And so now, as of Dateline right now, live doing this show at 6:45 p.m. on August 5th, Daily Stormer and 8chan are just down.
Good.
They're not accessible.
I think what we need people to do is we need to find, because I don't know how to find them and I want to look at them, right? The other hate sites that are, say, on Cloudflare still, and be like, hey, Cloudflare, you got rid of the 8chan, get rid of this too.
Yeah.
Hey, get rid of this too.
We're going to make a slippery slope for Nazis.
Yeah, just
down
at
into
the
the
bottom of
ocean.
the slope is Nazis. Everything else lower on the slope stays.
So Bit Mitigate, which is already shitty, was sold to Epic with a K, E-P-I-K.
Not Fortnite.
Yeah. Epic with a K is basically the hosting provider for all the vile speech on Earth at this point. They own all the shitty shit. And they own Gab. Gab is the thing we talked about earlier. Gab is where all the people too vile for Twitter and Reddit ended up.
Mm-hmm.
So now we need to go after Epic as a whole. That company needs to be deplatformed.
Mm-hmm.
So in some related news, where's the other piece here? There's a related thing we can go after. So it turns out that Breitbart,
Which is vile, but not 8chan vile. It's just one step less vile.
and Breitbart's been mostly deplatformed.
It's also a place I would never go, never
no.
read, and if anyone did read it, I would never speak to them again.
Breitbart
It's
and,
still very, very, very vile.
and InfoWars, similarly vile, very related.
Uh-huh.
InfoWars and Breitbart have been largely deplatformed by a lot of the big providers, but a lot of their revenue comes from advertising.
I thought it comes from selling bullshit.
Well, and selling bullshit.
Okay.
Turns out Amazon provides the storefront to sell the bullshit, and Amazon is actually one of the largest advertisers on Breitbart. With
Well,
their
Amazon is one of those people that don't even know where they're advertising, right? It's
Yep,
like you
and-
literally just type some code into your site, and now Amazon's running
Yep.
ads, right?
So
Same as Google. They don't
I would
know.
recommend all of you to direct your rage at Amazon and get them to stop letting Breitbart be a part of their ad networks.
Go protest at your local Whole Foods.
So you got some news?
Yeah, so this always sort of goes down, every once in a while where there's the Apple rumors,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then they turn out to be true usually, right? So if you don't know by now, every September used to be iPod season because there's back to school. And then when the iPod died and it became iPhones, September is iPhone season. They announced new iPhones in September. They announced the new iOS.
I got to back up a little. Voxility cut service to Epic.com. Epic is down.
Oh, okay.
Epic, BitMitigate.
Anyway, whatever.
Okay.
So, what was I saying?
Apple rumors.
Right. So, WWDC in the spring-ish times is when they announce the new iOS and what features it'll have, which are inevitably going to be on the new iPhone. And then that new iOS comes out when the new iPhone comes out, and they announce it September, October, right? And that's around the time, back to school, new phones, new iOS. It has been that way for every year since more than 10 years this way. It's not a surprise, guys. Every single year, since iPhone 1 was 2007, it has been September, October every year since then. Do not be surprised by this. Don't be like, oh, when are new iPhones coming? Fucking September. September, October. You can't mess this one up, guys. All right. So, and there's always rumors, and people are like, oh, you never know if those rumors can be true. But actually, as it turns out, for the past many years, like maybe, 10 fucking years, the rumors always turn out to be like 80% true.
Yeah.
All right. And it's usually because of things like leaks at factories, photos of cases, because people have to get iPhone cases in the store at the same day as the iPhone. So they tell these third-party accessory makers what the iPhones are going to be shaped like and stuff, and they make cases in advance, right? All this stuff comes out day one, and even if Apple itself and their developers and their engineers are super tight, there are leaks. I saw a leak. Someone was taking a picture of a Samsung phone and leaking the Samsung phone.
Yep.
They took a picture of the Samsung phone with the new unreleased iPhone XR equivalent, like the iPhone XR2 or whatever, and you could see a reflection of the back of that phone in the front of the new Samsung phone. Perhaps that was intentional. Perhaps that was, and it's like,
I mean,
you might think, oh, that was faked, but actually, in my experience, I see things like that every year, and it often turns out they're like almost always exactly right.
Well, plus, go all the way back to the famous teapot for sale.
Right. So the new iPhones, the biggest thing people are going to notice visually about them is that on the back, almost all the leaked pictures show a giant square
With like 3 cameras
with like
on it.
several camera lenses in it. We're beyond Daddy 2 lens now. It's like, since they can't have some
Gotta get
sort
that
of,
Mach 3.
right, well, they can't have a mechanical zoom that's an optical zoom that actually has a motor that
Because
moves
that
lenses
requires
around.
vertical traversal.
Right, that requires moving parts, which they really don't want in a phone, right? So as a result, we get on phones several lenses, and they're still really amazing cameras, but better than most cameras you'll buy separately.
Yep.
But still, that's a thing. But the main thing you got to know about iPhones this year is that Apple bought Intel's modem business. There was all this crazy...
Oh, I forgot about that.
There's all sorts of crazy shenanigans going on with Apple, Qualcomm, modem licensing, all these patents for modems, right? Radios and shit, right? You can read about that on your own separately. Just look for like Apple Qualcomm lawsuit, modems, radios, whatever. But the only other major company that made, modem radios for, cell phones is Intel, making 5G radios. And Intel's like getting out of that business. So Apple bought part of that business to make their own goddamn radios to try to fuck Qualcomm and stop putting Qualcomm shit in their phones so they can get away from that nonsense, right? Because pretty much Qualcomm's making the only good radios, and it's not that no one else could. It's patents mostly are locking that one in.
Yep.
Right? The thinking was that what was going to happen was that next year, 2021, would be when iPhones all had 5G radios. But as it turns out, it looks like this year they say they're all going to have 5G radios in them. So if you're hankering from a certain 5Gs and you live in a 5G place, well, maybe you could buy a new iPhone this year. But the other rumor that's probably true is that the iPhones this year aren't really going to be a big upgrade from the iPhones last year. All right, they're not going to be that different. So the ones in 2021 are going to be a huge upgrade. Most notably, you might remember a few years ago, Apple really wanted to do the fingerprint sensor for unlocking the phone.
Yep.
But they didn't want to have that button at the bottom of the screen. So what they did is they removed the button, and they couldn't get the fingerprint sensor to work when it was behind the actual screen. So what they did instead is they put the notch up top with the face unlock, right? And the face unlock is okay, but Apple still really wants the fingerprint sensor behind the screen because that means they can get rid of the notch and have a phone that is 100% screen on the front. And it looks like in 2021...
Now, I'm still fine with phones that just put the fingerprint sensor as a swipe on the side, but I guess Apple
doesn't want you to swipe. They want you to just put your finger there.
Yeah.
Like magic. That swipe is no good because there's too much user stuff going on, right? That's not the Apple way.
Yep.
So it looks like 2021 is going to be the iPhone that has... not only fingerprint sensor behind the screen, 100% screen on the front of the phone, and 5G, but also, most importantly, the rumor is that the iPhone from this year, not 2021, 2020, still 2019. Subtract a
Get
year.
ahead of yourself there.
Subtract a year from all the years I said. The 2019 phone will be a minor upgrade. 2020 will be a big upgrade. The 2019 phone, despite being all this other stuff, is supposedly going to have still lightning cables. Boo.
Oh.
And supposedly the 2020 phone, the major upgrade, might finally go to USB-C, which we're going to talk about in real soon.
Yep.
So my plan as of now, and there is also some talk that they are going to make small phone, because middle-sized phone doesn't sell well. People want big phone or small phone.
Yep,
so
and this is the rumor
small
I'm the
phone-
most interested in because...
Small phone might come out this year, but... I'll probably wait and I'll get the 2020 small iPhone that's 100% screen to finally replace the iPhone 7 and hold on to that phone forever.
If they actually release a small iPhone that's small enough, I'll probably switch when the last of my Xperia compacts dies.
Well, we'll see. It's not going to be that small.
Yeah, we'll see how small it actually is.
Yeah.
Because right now...
It's not going to be iPhone 5 small, I don't think.
I still hold in my hand the Sony XZ1 Compact is literally the last small Android phone.
Hey, Amanda got the Pixel 3a. It's way good. It's
But
not
it's
as small.
big.
It's not as small as that, but
It's also not waterproof, I don't think.
I think it is.
Is it fully waterproof? Like
don't
take a picture in the pool?
I don't fucking know.
Because this is.
I don't know. But the point
Does
is,
the battery last 2 whole
if I
fucking
had
days?
if I had to get an Android phone, I would get that phone.
You know what I did?
Of course, I wouldn't get an Android phone.
You know
but-
my next Android phone is? I actually own another one of this
yeah,
phone.
I know.
in
You've
that
said
box.
it like 1,000 times.
Because
How many times are you going to repeat yourself?
for the next 2 or 3 years at least. Unless they make a small iPhone, then I'll just switch. Because I have a smartwatch. After the Pebble died, there really aren't good Android smartwatches. Like every single...
No, the Apple Watch is the only smartwatch worth of shit.
the Apple Watch...
If I wasn't iOS with Apple Watch, I would just go back to what I did before of no watch.
Yeah, I kind of did. I
Or
stopped wearing my
if I
LG.
Apple Watch is the only smartwatch worth of shit, except since Pebble died.
And the Apple iWatch still, while it's great, it has still like very deep flaws.
Like what?
Battery doesn't just last 2 weeks.
It lasts a whole day.
Yeah,
it lasts
one day.
more than a day, unless you do something stupid like run Strava directly on it.
Yeah.
You know, in which case, like for example, I used Strava on my watch, and I went to summer streets, and I biked around for several hours and came home, and I brought no phone with me. The watch was doing all the GPS, all the Strava, all the upload, all
And
the everything.
if you're not aware of this out there, GPS, like to actually do GPS, takes a ton of power.
Right, my watch has LTE in it, so it was a phone at the same... It was a phone, and when I got home, 40% battery left after several hours.
Yep.
And a tiny watch. That's pretty fucking good with the color screen and all the stuff it does. right? Can't complain about the battery life in the Apple Watch.
Yep.
Just charge it when you sleep, and I've never had it run out ever.
So supposedly the next round of fossil Android Wear watches for
they're fossil. I guess they'll be stylish at least. They'll probably also be expensive.
Yeah, but they will have battery lives that are up to 5 or 6 days, depending. It's all rumors, so we gotta wait and see.
How much is it gonna do though?
Can
you run Strava directly on it? Does it have LTE like a phone? Is it like it's not doing all the stuff Apple Watches do, and then you can't really directly compare that battery life. You know, it's like Pebble lasted battery life forever because it didn't have the kind of OLED fancy screen.
And
Apple
that's
Watch
the thing
has.
that bothers me the most. That the Pebble style screen,
and it didn't have the features that Apple Watch has.
I think is still an appropriate screen.
I agree.
For a watch.
I would buy an Apple Watch with that kind of screen and all other features the same.
Because you don't need a watch to do that much. And frankly, most of the fancy features people are trying to make watches do, they're not that good at because it's not really the right form factor.
Well, it is, depending on
Depends.
which feature you're talking about.
Well, true, but I think the most useful features of a watch are just getting notifications, setting timers,
the Apple Watch
getting directions while you're traveling somewhere.
The Apple Watch does way, way, way more than the Pebble Watch does. Way better than it ever did. So it's what you're paying. You're paying the money and the battery life in exchange for the power.
So what I'm waiting to see is I've been watching the Android Watch space for a while, and they're all kind of garbage.
Right.
And this is the first time I've seen an Android
less
watch
than garbage
that might not be garbage.
Yeah, I think my feeling is if you're not Apple with an Apple Watch, right?
Just get a Fitbit and only use it for fitting.
Get either no watch at all and just look at your phone like I did for years and was fine, or get just the cheap, the Casio, the regular Casio.
That's you get the LG style.
No.
Barely works. It's like $80.
No.
Lasts a day.
Just get the regular Casio digital watch that's just a watch and a stopwatch and it's just a normal ass watch for $5.
But there's
It doesn't do any smart anything.
I would never want a watch that telling the time is not what I use a watch for.
No, but all it saves you though, it's like you remember the goal is to not have to take your phone out of your pocket, right? So half the time I take my phone in my pocket is to see notifications, and half the time I take it out of my pocket is to see what time it is. So if I couldn't get a good watch for notifications like an Apple Watch, at least I could get the cheapo Casio digital watch and reduce half the time I take my phone out of my pocket.
So I've always kind of hated
for like $10.
In the before there were smartwatches or smartphones or cell phones, I hated the idea of wearing a watch. I preferred pocket watches for the sole reason that
so that you could you could be that person who has a pocket watch.
No, it was specifically I had this very particular philosophy. I need to be able to know what time it is, but I don't want to constantly know what time it is.
So don't fucking look at your watch.
Yeah, but it's right there. You might just see it.
My Apple Watch is blank unless I look at it.
Yeah, my watch is also blank until I shake it and look at it, or I get a notification.
The point is,
anyway, this might be the first almost usable baby's first Android smartwatch that isn't garbage since the Pebble.
And anyone who has a Rolex and it wasn't just the only one you have and it was grandpa's or something.
Yeah.
Get in line for the guillotine. Against the wall with you. Watch person.
But anyway, it looks like it's time for Things of the Day. What do you got?
What the fuck was my thing of the day? Oh, I remember now.
Yep.
So Gen Con just happened, and we are not fans of Gen Con.
Gen Con is poorly run, and I would never attend it as a guest unless they change a lot of their policies.
Gen Con has good policies and bad policies.
Yep.
But despite the convention organization itself and the things that they do wrong, good people go to Gen Con and good games happen there, and there are positives to going there that have nothing to do with the con. I mean, if you get some of the, there's really good stuff happening because good people are there playing good games, right? And that's not Gen Con's fault, nor will I hold it against them. Anyway. So, because of that, there were lots and lots of gaming tweets coming from Gen Con, and I was getting a lot of good stuff from those tweets.
Oh, Lord, I have the issue of Dragon Magazine where your thing of the day was reviewed, supposedly.
Right. That's right. So, one thing I discovered that I did not know existed before, thanks to some, tweets from Gen Con, is... I would have saved this for Tuesday, but it's too good. The official, this is a real thing, 100% real thing, right? Published by TSR in 1988, so I was 6 years old.
Yep.
An official RPG that is the Bullwinkle and Rocky role-playing party game.
Oh, there is
officially licensed. This is a real
Did
thing.
you see what it entails? Like, did you look at this?
Oh yeah, there's puppets in there.
Yeah, 10. This comes with 19
There's
cardboard
no
stand-ups,
dice.
6 spinners, 2 spinners, 2
No
cardstock
dice
sheets,
spinners.
10 hand puppets.
Yep. There are barely any rules.
I remember
The
talking
game-
to Jared at length years ago, like, we should make an RPG that comes with puppets.
Uh-huh. The game was designed, right?
Oh, shit.
By David Cook, who I don't know who that is, and Warren Spector, like Deus Ex System Shock Thief Warren Spector, Ultima Underworld Warren Spector, right? That Warren Spector worked on this game. Who the hell is David Cook? Let's look them up.
You don't know who David Cook is?
Some TSR dude.
Yep, that's all you need to know. He's some TSR dude.
Some TSR dude, and Warren Spector, a person who actually know who they are. Right? They made this Rocky and Bullwinkle RPG. Basically, the rules are so loose and sparse, it barely qualifies. That's what it says in Wikipedia. But yeah, apparently it is an amazing, awesome card-based tabletop RPG. I want to play it because I love Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I'm scrolling through. I have a PDF of that Dragon magazine because
But you don't have a PDF of the Rocky and Bullwinkle role-playing party game.
Nope, but there's a review of that game in this Dragon magazine
You mean
article.
the Dragon magazine that was published by TSR?
Yes.
It's like reading Nintendo Power to get a review of Mario.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just scrolling through.
Dragon magazine was published by TSR, right?
Pretty sure it was. I don't actually know a lot of the history of Dragon magazine. All I know is that I subscribed to it.
I'm pretty sure it was, but let me check. Just so I don't make it idiot.
So I also, company TSR.
Okay,
yep.
I was right. All right.
I subscribed, like my family, we subscribed to Nintendo Power from issue 1. We pre-subscribed. We got the first Nintendo Power.
I subscribed to very early GamePro up until I was in college. Then I canceled GamePro, like after freshman
My
year.
mom keeps threatening to
And then-
send me all my Dragon magazines and all my Nintendo Powers.
Okay, let's take them to fucking, I don't know, like RPG library. Actually, they would probably take them. That RPG library that's at PAX West.
Oh, yeah.
They'll take your Dragon magazines.
I think I already have a lot of Dragon magazines.
Yeah, but why? They'll take a full set.
Do you want like several hundred Dragon magazines?
Somebody will. There is a good home for them. I gave my GamePro magazines. I looked on Craigslist, and when we lived in Beacon,
Oh, I remember that. That
there was
teacher,
there was a
right?
teacher who lived nearby who wanted to cut them up for arts and crafts class. And I said, "Go nuts! I can just get PDFs of these online. I don't need the physical ones taking up space in my apartment."
So my thing of the day is real brief. I didn't want to use because lately a lot of our things of the day have been tweets or very short YouTube videos.
Things of the day are hard to come by in a dark world.
Yep. Also, we've set the bar a little high in the sense that things that might have been like good enough to be a thing of the day back in 2010.
Well, I raised the bar with my good things of the day, and then you were embarrassed with your bad things of the day. And now you're trying to,
I'd love to. We still need to do the thing of the day off.
thing of the day off.
We each need to.
You cannot win the thing of the day off.
We
against
each need to
me.
bring our top 10 things of the day of all time and get the listener to vote.
Things of the day that we've already used as things of the day.
Yeah, you go back and we each bring to the table what we think are our own personal 10 best, and we let the listener decide which one of us, based on that set of 20, truly is the king of the things of the day.
All right.
That'll be a fun show to do someday.
Mm-hmm.
But so this is an article from a blog called Going Medieval that I read occasionally. I bump into it every now and then. And it's just like fun explorations of how you don't know shit about the Middle Ages.
No, because it was dark and there wasn't a lot of recorded history.
No, it's actually, there's a lot of recorded history, but most people just, when they imagine the word like medieval times,
Your castle and peasants.
they
and
imagine shit-covered peasants like marching to war against other shit-covered peasants while knights on horses ride behind them and all those castles and crap. But a common misconception of the medieval times
watery tarts flinging swords.
and the Middle Ages is that people didn't bathe. And this is a pretty direct explanation of that not only did medieval people bathe, but they fucking loved taking baths.
Yeah, because everything's so fucking filthy. You won't
Yeah.
love taking a bath.
And it goes
I mean,
into
if you
like,
get all slimy and sweaty after a whole weekend of biking and the shower truck broke down, when you get home and shower, oh baby. So
But
if
it
you
makes
were
this
if you
interesting
worked
point.
in the fields all day,
Yep.
harvesting whatever the fuck potatoes for some knight who had
Yep.
the castle that protected you from the other night,
Nobleman Swerve.
and you finally get some free time with your family, and there's a pond, and you can go in that pond and bathe. Oh, that's like the best.
Peasant coming through.
That's right.
Like you can even tell.
Yep.
But not only could medieval people bathe, but the meta point this article makes is great. It points
I mean,
out
Rome
that,
came first, and Rome had bathhouse. They had bathing technology.
but you ask the average person, like, who is dirtier? The Roman? Like, people constantly talk about how medieval people
Why would
were
you be dirty in Rome? You had bathhouses.
But this article points out
Fountains.
Romans bathed primarily with oil and did not have modern soap. Fucking medieval people invented soap.
That's right.
So this article is pretty good. And
I mean, a lot of people are using oil for soap,
yeah, God, use soap.
or soap with oil in it. Which
That's fine. Depending on the era of Rome and those times, a common way to bathe was to basically douse yourself in olive oil and then scrape it off with a shell or a stick.
Yeah,
That
feels
is-
pretty good.
It's okay.
Feels
but
good though.
It does not de-stinkify, however.
Yeah, but it makes you smell like olive.
But, I can't find, there's a link from this article to tell why I like this blog that gets into the history of NoFap November and why it is mostly promoted by vile people.
Okay,
It's surprisingly related to the concept of medieval bathing.
interesting.
Yeah. In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book is the first novel, The Tale of Genji.
The first novel ever written by humans ever is still available for you to read. So why wouldn't you read it before reading any other novel? You got to start with volume 1.
Yep, we will be live at PAX West 2019 with 2 panels, one of which, if you have seen it before,
Neither of which got canceled because
yes,
we were bad.
but we have our flaws.
Yet.
We have our flaws.
We could get canceled.
But we are above the line of being banned from PAX for being shitty.
Thank God.
So on Friday and Saturday, you can see us live, and stay tuned because we're already making our plans. PAX South badges went on sale. We will definitely be there. PAX Unplugged is coming up. We will be there. PAX season begins as soon as summer ends, and we will be there.
Beach, PAX,
PAX,
hockey,
PAX,
PAX,
PAX, PAX,
PAX,
PAX,
hockey, PAX, hockey, PAX, hockey, PAX.
Yeah,
hockey.
PAX, hockey,
Beach,
PAX,
beach,
hockey.
beach, beach. That's my life.
Yep, my life is the same, except in the after
Oh,
PAX,
bike beach.
Starting-
PAX, hockey.
starting
PAX.
after PAX
Oh,
Unplugged.
you throw a ski in there.
I have ski mixed in with hockey and PAX.
Yeah, that's the life, everybody.
I feel like we need to add one winter beach.
Why don't we just add some Civil War in there?
As in start a civil war.
Well, I mean, finish it.
That as flip as that comment was, it is far too important and real and serious, and I actually do agree. But let's get into the main bit. So we are not going to get into the deep technical specifications of USB-C.
Because we don't fucking know. That's
Yeah.
why.
And I'm going to say I know a lot about all USB, both the cabling standards, the signaling standards, everything, up until USB 2. USB 3, I know enough because it matters. And now USB is at the point to where you don't need to know unless you work in the hardware industry.
Right, so we did do an episode before about USB in general, but USB-C wasn't a thing then. So let me set you straight, just real summary, right?
Yep.
There's 2 different things you got to worry about. There's USB A, B, C letters, and there's USB 1, 2, 3 numbers. They are disconnected. You could have USB A and B cable, right, with A on one and B on the other. That's talking about the shape of the cable. Right?
Well, that's talking about the shape
And
of
the
the
wires
connector,
inside, right.
And you can have A to A, A
Yes.
to B,
Yes.
micro A to mini
I'm just
B.
doing the summary, not the details.
Yeah,
The letters are about the cable. What does the cable look like? Where does it plug into? What wires are inside,
Yep.
right? The numbers are about what's going over the cable, right? If it's a USB 1 cable, that ain't doing shit for you in 2019.
Yep.
A USB 2 cable is carrying USB 2 speeds with USB 2 devices, right? USB 3 with the blue inside to let you know that you can plug in, your high-speed devices on that line.
Even though, fun fact, almost every device you use is using USB 2, even if it's on a 3
Almost
cable.
everything is still using 2. So USB-C is a new cable shape. You've probably seen it because it's really advancing quite quickly. Most desktop motherboards these days have at least 1 or 2 on there.
Yep.
New MacBooks only have them. They just got 2 on each side. That's it.
Yeah.
Your Nintendo.
My computer, which I built a while ago already, has one USB-C
Yep.
on the back.
Nintendo Switch has one on the bottom. Most new phones that aren't Apple phones with Lightning all this have them on the bottom.
I love how
The
Apple
new
always does this. We're going to use our different cable.
New iPads have it on the bottom, right? Apple's put it on everything except for iPhones, which have Lightning. Everything else at Apple has USB-C now. So it's a different cable shape. It looks like sort of like a hamburger patty. It's just flat on the top and bottom and round on the sides. And
I guess I can see that. That's not how I would have described it.
How would you describe it?
I don't know.
A cylinder that got hammered from both sides?
I guess I would just describe it as
A pancake?
A wide oval.
A wide oval. It's flat on top and bottom and round
Some
on
sort
the
of
side.
oblate shape.
Anyway, it's the best part about it is it goes in both ways.
Yep.
Swings both ways, everybody.
Because
no more 4-dimensional USB cables. You put it in, it doesn't go.
I don't have to take off my belt anymore to explain.
Right, you turn it around, it doesn't go. You turn it around
symmetry.
a third time, now it fits. No, USB-C just goes in. It goes in quite securely. Like I can put a USB-C cable in and like swing my phone around a little bit and be not my phone, but you can swing a device around and be kind of confident it's not going to like become detached and fall off unless it's a pretty secure connection there, right?
Yep. Now here's the other very important thing about it. Micro USB, which up until recently has been the standard. Like the only things that use mini USB are old things.
Or cheap things.
Or a full-size USB B-side. Shitty old printers and scanners, pretty much it.
Yeah, but micro USB is what a lot of phones were using before USB-C.
And micro USB
not Apple devices
was extremely good for the time, but it had one very important
only goes
flaw,
in one way.
but it was fine because
Also real cheap and flimsy.
No, actually, that's not. It was not flimsy, nor was it cheap. That was the problem because the USB micro connector has moving parts. It requires these springs, and these little teeth to make it work. And those are great, but that means those cables wear out.
Yeah, they're not great. Anyway.
There was a time a few years ago where like a lot of people all at once started randomly complaining about like cables breaking. That's just because those cables have a limited number of insertions before they fail.
And why do we even need micro and mini USB? Because regular USB was too big. Think about a regular USB cable for your computer like that your mouse has. Hey, you have a phone with that kind of hole on it. It's an enormous fucking phone.
Even worse, that's the A side. The B side of full-size USB
that goes in your scanner or your printer.
Is a big square that is literally thicker than my thick-ass Android phone.
Right. So another thing about USB-C is that it's so small, you can use it on desktop, phone. We don't need big and small. It's just one size. It's small enough already. Every device, whether it's a giant desktop or a TV or a tiny phone or like a headphone that needs to be recharged, can all just use normal USB-C. We don't need a micro version.
So here are the other two important things about the physicality. Point number one, the two sides of the cable are also the same. You don't need an A side and a B side.
You can just use either side for A or B. So when we have printers and scanners and all these things finally switch to USB-C, you won't need to get some weird cable that's like has a big one on one side or anything like that. Every cable will just be the same USB-C thing on both fucking sides. End of story. No more muss and fuss.
Now there are A side and B side pin layouts, but you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, the devices will just figure out like, oh, I'm on the A side, burp. I'm on the B side, burp.
Yep, because the cables have a bunch of pins.
Mm-hmm.
The pins are all shielded and wired in such a way to where they can do the things they're intended for. I don't want to get into why you twist cables and why you have cable pairs. We talked about that in the episode we did about Ethernet a long, long time ago.
Yeah, that USB-C has so many wires in it. It has so many features on those wires, and it can reuse the different wires for different things based on what's going on.
Like, here's some examples. You can just put DisplayPort, like, over USB-C. Fuck it.
You don't need DisplayPort cables. There's no reason you couldn't just make a computer that has only USB-C in the back and, like, nothing else. Like, instead of a HDMI and DisplayPort output, just a USB-C, and you plug a cable into your monitor. There you go. The video signal's going over the USB-C cable.
Thunderbolt, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Analog audio. It'll actually just use the USB 2 pairs because it has some pins that are just to be used for USB 2 support.
Yeah, I actually use that. So, like, for example, my iPad has USB-C on the bottom, and this is Apple, no headphone jack. There's a little adapter you can get from Apple, but you can get a third-party one. It's USB-C on one end and headphone hole on the other end, and it's not some special thing. It doesn't really need a chip. The iPad just knows, oh, there's a headphone being plugged in, and over those wires, it sends ground, left audio channel, right audio channel, and then the microphone one on the, because TRS, right, tip, ring, sleeve, that's 4 things.
Yep.
4 pins. So, and then it's this analog audio coming out of the digital USB-C hole that's normally digital, and then it goes right into your normal analog headphones, and there you go. You're listening to music with a headphone jack, even though it's plugged into a USB-C hole. You could actually have a computer. Your desktop could go without sound card, theoretically, right? It would just need a digital analog converter, and you could plug headphones into the USB-C hole on your computer, theoretically, if someone made that work with the right drivers and shit.
Yep. So let's step back a little bit. USB stands for Universal Serial Bus, because in the old days, the idea was got a million different cables like the PS2.
Well, and there was a lot of parallel ones, which is why you need serial ones.
Yep.
That you refer to our USB episode and skip this entire section of Rim reiterating it.
No, but the point I want to get at is that every time USB could have been the one connector and cable to rule them all, there were always these niche use cases. Like old USB, you couldn't send like streaming data over it. It wasn't
fast enough.
It wasn't fast enough.
Didn't have enough cables.
And it wasn't real time.
Yeah.
So bit by bit, you always needed USB could cover a lot of cases, but you still needed FireWire to send live streaming audio.
At the beginning, it was just for like mice, keyboard, 56K external modems, external USB sticks that are really slow. It's like as time went on, they made them faster without changing the connector, and then more and more use cases came up where it's like, oh, you can have external stuff now doing this.
Yep, but along the way, material science got better, and we started needing a DC power plug standard because almost every device you use uses DC, and AC is what comes out of the holes in your house.
Yep,
So,
in America.
Yeah.
And most of the world.
Pretty much everywhere. Nowhere has just DC to the house.
I mean,
No.
there are some science labs, and there are some places where like they have DC power lined up.
Yeah, like in data centers on bus bars.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, not in your house.
Someone's house.
Nah.
Someone's house.
Some horrible nerd who's there's probably a burnt skeleton
I'm Googling
in an
for
abandoned
DC
house.
with DC power.
I've seen nerds try to make stuff like that. It's not a good idea.
Someone's house.
But we're fine now that USB sort of became the powering standard. We're very close to the point with USB-C where we literally will have one cable to rule them all. The only cable we need to destroy is the lightning cable.
Yep.
Because lightning can just go over a USB-C cable.
Right, and the only thing that's using lightning cables is iPhones.
iPhones.
That's literal, and some things.
And some peripherals that early adopters mistakenly bought.
Well, there are some iPhone accessories that use lightning. Like I think there's like Beats. I had Beats headphones once, and you had to recharge them with lightning because they were meant to be used with the iPhones. They're like, oh, we got an iPhone. You got use lightning to charge this headphone too. Anyway, so yeah, USB-C is finally one cable. One shape. You can run anything over the cable. You can run, your mouse, your keyboard, your phone, plug your monitor in, plug your camera. All my cameras now all have USB-C to transfer 4K video off the camera.
Yep.
You could live stream video over it depending on what protocol you're using.
Yep, and because
the one cable, you can use so many protocols. Even though it's USB-C, you could use USB 2 over USB-C, USB 3, USB 3.2, Thunderbolt,
and
anything.
This is the second. We're not going to go long on this, but a part of the value of the USB-C cable is that it supports USB 3.1, which is really fast.
There are USB 3.1 that you could use with the old USB 3 blue AB cable, but you can get USB 3.2 like mega speeds over USB-C cables, like insane speeds, like several gigabits at the point. And that's actually a huge difference because up until now, the fastest thing you could really plug into your computer that wasn't internal was like something like eSATA maybe, right? Or your network would be one gigabit.
My last computer had a bunch of eSATA cables, and those were not commonly used.
Right, eSATA is killed by USB-C.
Because eSATA, SATA is not a resilient protocol for a long cable to connect to.
No. But now it's like, well, if I got a NAS, why would I if I got, external hard drives, right, in a NAS, in a RAID, why would I connect them over the network at 1 gigabit on my network when I could just plug them in directly to my computer with USB-C?
Yup.
That's way faster than 1 gigabit, and then use the network sharing on my computer if I wanted other computers in the network to be able to access the files.
We talked about this back when we were doing the NAS show, but they're doing the NAS and a DAS, network attached storage versus disk attached storage or direct attached storage.
Yeah.
But if you're using a workstation to edit giant 8K videos, Yeah, you plug a giant SAN directly into that computer instead of having hard drives in the computer.
So the final thing that I want to say about USB-C that's so great, having this one cable, is that all of the things around the cable are super, super standardized to even right now more than you would realize. For example, I bought a little thing,
Yep.
and on one end of it was USB-C, and on the other end was female USB-C, so that you could get some charging power to whatever device you were plugging this into, right? USB 3B, the square shape, so that's like a little hub in case you wanted to plug something else in, and an HDMI port. So what you would use this for would be you would plug the USB-C end into your iPad. You would then connect another USB-C cable to keep your iPad charging. You could then maybe plug in like a USB mouse or keyboard into your iPad or something like that on the USB-C, B hole, right? And then you can plug in an HDMI cable to get HDMI output from the iPad, and now you're using like your iPad connected to an external monitor or a TV, or you're streaming what it's showing on your iPad or something like that.
Now,
right?
the original USB spec, the old one, handled this, kinda.
Yeah.
But it was called USB on the go, and because of the directionality of the cables and everything, the end result was if you weren't extremely careful about what you plugged in and how you plugged it in, stuff would just get fried.
But anyway, I bought this little adapter, like what, $15?
Yep.
And it lets me do all that stuff, plug into the bottom of the iPad. I also have a Nintendo Switch, and sometimes you don't want to carry your Switch dock around with you. But I take the same exact adapter. I didn't buy another different adapter. I plug the USB-C into the bottom of the Nintendo Switch, and then I can plug my, actually to charge a Switch Pro controller, the cable they give you is USB-B on one end and C on the other end.
Yeah.
So you plug that in, and you can now charge your Nintendo, Pro
Actually,
controller.
I think it's A on one end, not B. Nothing uses A, and nothing uses B anymore.
Anyway, it's the regular old rectangle.
That's A.
I thought
That's the A one.
I thought A was the big one.
A is the big normal one.
Anyway, then you plug in an HDMI cable to get the video out from your Switch to your TV because you don't want to carry a Switch dock, right? The only thing is the Switch itself is just annoying in that the Switch has a special program. It's looking specifically for the official, legitimate, made by Nintendo AC adapter, which is literally just 2 prongs that go in the wall and USB-C on the other end.
Yeah.
So you have to bring your official Nintendo AC adapter with you, but you plug that USB-C end into this adapter to charge your Switch while the HDMI is coming out. And lo and behold, the Switch will now will think that thing is basically your Nintendo Switch dock. Nintendo Switch docks cost a fortune. This thing costs like $15-$20.
Now,
and it works with my iPad also. It's the same standard USB-C to HDMI, the same exact everything.
And if you're not trying to play video out of it and use it while you're charging, like if you just want to charge it, any old, like the same thing that charges my phone charges the Switch.
Yeah. You can actually charge other things with the Switch AC
I have
adapter.
charged my Switch from the Anchor battery I carry with myself.
Yes, it's only when you want your Switch to do video out that it demands the official AC adapter.
Yep.
Otherwise, you could just take like your Samsung phone charger that's USB-C and plug it into the bottom of Nintendo Switch and it charges just fine. It's like USB-C is that standardized across iPad, Samsung phone, Nintendo Switch, any other thing USB-C. You will be shocked at how compatible and how right? A MacBook Pro has USB-C on the side. You can take the charger for that, shove it in the bottom of Nintendo Switch. It's charging. It's working.
And it's because all the people involved have done, and all the standards bodies and all the manufacturers have done a lot of work to make USB-C just work without you having to know.
Right.
With all the old USB and all the other cables up to this point, you had to know things to make weird stuff happen.
Yep, you're going to be shocked as soon as you get more and more USB-C stuff. You're going to want to throw away everything you have that's not USB-C.
Like, for example, DisplayPort, fuck those cables. Remember, those are the cables that will literally ruin your video card or monitor if they're made wrong, and most of them are made wrong.
Yep.
The cable itself is a danger. USB-C, you're pretty much good. However, only buy name brand USB cables.
Yeah, and HDMI, it's like one HDMI cable, it's like, not great.
Yep.
Especially when you start getting into super high res situations. USB-C, it's like, boom, let me see that 4K, 8K video wall. Let's go.
Yep. Now, there is a little nuance to the cables that I don't really want to get into.
Because you don't know it.
No, I kind of know it.
You just read it on Wikipedia.
I read it a little while ago.
Someone else can read it. You
Yeah.
don't need to read it for them.
But it comes down to the fact that the cables have chips in them now.
Yep.
Which, if you open up like any converter display stuff, there is a lot of logic in cables.
Oh yeah, that thing I was just talking about that's like USB-C to HDMI probably has a whole computer in it.
Yep.
Like a processor and everything, and RAM. You know.
Yep. And
Even though
basically,
it's $15-$20.
USB-C cables may or may not have support for certain like weird advanced functions.
It's possible that like if you get El Cheapo USB-C cable that you were using to charge like some, I don't know, your bicycle light, which my current bicycle lights right now use micro USB-C, but I'm micro USB. But I'm sure in the future they'll be USB-C. But
well, here's where it'll matter to you.
Some cable that comes with a light that you use to charge your, that you use to charge your bicycle light is probably not going to work if you try to send 4K video over.
Here is where it'll matter to you. Here's the practical reason why you'll need to know this a little bit. USB-C cables can only be about 2 meters long.
Yeah.
There are many cases where you want a really, really long USB cable. It's not going to work.
Right. Usually
doesn't work today.
Usually for video output.
A really, really long USB 3 cable is also not going to work.
No.
Like the one long USB cable I have for that Oculus sensor up there, that is like the maximum length.
They're
and
gonna
that
be.
one
They're
is
gonna be
USB 2.
the length you need is the length to plug it in next to your bed on where your USB thing is by your nightstand.
I don't know, but here's why I
and
brought
hold
this
your
up.
phone in bed while it charges. That's how long you need it to be.
USB-C cables cannot be more than 2 meters.
Okay, that's really also 2 meters is pretty long.
However, if you can get USB-C cables that are longer. There's a spec accounts for having a really long cable up to 4 meters. You can double the length.
That is hella long.
But
if your entertainment system is more than 4 meters from your TV and your stereo and whatever it needs to be, damn, rearrange your room.
And all that means is that those USB-C cables will only support USB 2.0 speeds and will not support weird alternate modes. So if you use a USB-C cable to plug into your DAS and you use a 4-meter cable, it won't work.
Yeah.
That's really the only cable problem.
Why is your DAS 4 meters from your computer?
Yeah.
Right? Seriously?
So I look forward to the death of lightning. I
look forward to the death of every data cable and powering small devices that have their own batteries cable that is not shaped with USB-C on both ends. Because right now, most of the cables I have are actually regular old USB on one end and USB-C on the other. Because like my Anchor charging hub isn't 5 USB-Cs. It's, you know.
I want to get to the point where I just want to start replacing a lot of, like I want to put in all my power outlets around the house.
Oh, I forgot one more thing you can do. Is if you get a cable that's USB-C on both ends, you'd be shocked what you can do with that.
Because
I can
plug it
plug
into devices, they work it out.
I can connect, for example, my Micro Four Thirds Panasonic GH5, plug one end USB-C, has a USB-C hole on it, other end into iPad. It works. It actually shows up, and the iPad's like, oh, import photos. All that crazy shit actually works. Just connect two devices, plug your GoPro into your computer, boom, stuff's happening when you connect that USB-C cable.
Pre-USB-C cameras, if they were serious, like big cameras, tended to have one USB port to be a host and one to be a connector.
Obviously, your experience may vary with different shitty or better devices, but yeah, for the most part, if two devices have USB-C and there's some logical reason to connect the two, and you do so, something's going to happen when you plug them in.
Yeah, and unlike the old days with on the go, that something will probably not be a fire.
Yeah.
All right. I think we did a good show. USB-D will be dick-shaped.